So 170 to 175 High Street West is a group of 3 terraced buildings that were originally residences for the middle class, and then over time have become commercial premises. So they date back to the 1800s, and 170 was one of the first banks in Sunderland, and the second building, 173, is hugely important in terms of the story of retail in the city, as this was owned by a draper called George Binns, who later set up Binns and Sons department store. But the buildings themselves are interesting in that they tell the story of that migration of people moving from residences near the port and moving kind of westwards and setting up homes towards what is now the city centre.
Pop Rex started 2013. We were established on Fawcett Street in Sunderland, and then a long ride later we find ourselves on the High Street, a bit in Hendon, but we are now on the High Street preparing to reopen at 172 to 174 High Street West. We had, the vaccines, James Bay, the cribs on the same day as the vaccines, all come into play at Fawcett Street for never more than £5, £2.50 if you're on benefits, and allowing people to know that there isn't a them and us. There is like-minded people out there who actually may have heard of Sunderland or are willing to come because of what we were doing. We were literally building walls upstairs in the dark because we had no electricity, and painting walls. I mean, one point we painted the same wall 4 times because we didn't realise we painted it. That's stupid of trying to get things open. And even the first gig that we put on in 170, the doors were at 7:30, and there was a guy in a hole in the road at 7:15 trying to turn the power on. It's like real, just us could do that. But the building it had been squatted in, so it was like Swiss cheese. Every line to a PowerPoint had been ripped out the walls, so that all the walls were useless.
I don't think you can fully comprehend how bad this space was and how near to collapse the buildings were. And that's because George Binns, who opened his department store, took out the first floor. So behind me, we're missing the first floor of the townhouse. For then another 150 years, the building was trying to collapse on itself because someone had taken out the supporting walls. And there's been numerous attempts to solve that, and we've seen that as we've stripped the buildings back, to solve that collapsing building. And finally, we've solved it by these big 2 steel girders up there are holding the roof up.
Well, the condition of the building was very, very poor. It was dilapidated, it was virtually on the point of past saving. When we did get inside, we had very, very limited access. There were needles, syringes, pigeon guano, there were collapsed floors. The back of the building was terrible. This area where we're standing here had been burnt out, so it didn't have a roof, and it was a terrible state.
That was the most challenging aspect of the project, to make the buildings safe, actually, so that they could be worked in. They have seen new shop fronts, repaired shop fronts, repaired windows, reinstated sash windows. The roof has been recovered. The rear extensions have been effectively rebuilt, but incorporating historic elements to particularly the central building to create the music venue. So it has really been a combination of a wide range of structural repairs and rebuilding works to save the buildings, and then a range of repair and restoration works to conserve the buildings and return them to their historic form and appearance.
It's still a wondrous space to be in. It's just lost the rambling kind of nature that it had. I've not quite got to been able to describe them yet. It's still a shock to kind of come here and just walk around the space.
So the impact that this project with these buildings has had is really quite amazing. I think that the biggest impact is the visual improvement. No longer are these an eyesore at a very prominent location. These are now a really exciting thing to look at when you first arrive in Sunderland. And I think that sends a really good message to local people. It's all about well-being and feeling good about your neighbourhood. No longer are there derelict buildings on the doorstep. These now are something to be proud of. But they're also now having an impact on the cultural activity of the city centre, with new life being breathed back into these buildings by Pop Rex and other partners who are going to create a sort of a magnetic cultural hub for people to want to come here and spend time and money and have fun.